Alisson's in goal for Liverpool. Liverpool win that tie. End of story.
Um, Listen, I tend to agree with you in terms of the bottom line is, however you characterise the game, Atletico Madrid won at the end of the day, and that's all that matters.
I'm not saying they didn't.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is how you're perceiving how they actually won the game. As I say, had Liverpool taken those chances and had Oblak not been in goal, Liverpool win that tie in 90 minutes.
Thing is, every game is about scoring goals. We know. We've been to it. You and I, the guys in the studio, Gabby's played in games a million times. There are ifs and buts in football matches. If. But the bottom line is that Atletico Madrid went into that game, defended well, and scored 4 goals over the tie. So you've got to give that credit where it's due. Where you're right about Klopp is the fact that. And Liverpool in general, is that I don't agree with this idea that because they didn't win the FA Cup or the Champions League, they're a bad team. I think they're an exceptional team. I think that when you look around the team, the decisiveness of the recruitment, the pace in the attack, the energy in midfield, the defensive leadership and organisation, they are 25 points clear at the top of the Premier League, and we haven't even unwrapped our Easter eggs. So, David, I agree with you. There in this studio there is a difference of opinion, but as far as I'm concerned, and Gabby agrees with me as well, don't you, Gab? I get you a drink after. Gabby agrees with me. I think you're absolutely right.
The difference of opinion, though, seems to be that they're no longer the Invincibles. Liverpool supporters have never claimed to be the Invincibles.
Whoa. What Liverpool fans do you know? Whoa, I haven't heard the end of this. Where have you been?
But Liverpool supporters want to win. The main thing this season was winning the league, and they win the league. Which, as you say, it's not as though we're 2 or 3 points ahead of City at the moment. We're 25, and yet there's always that, are we now disappointed? Of course we're not. We've got the 2 Champions League in the last 2 seasons. We won it last year, so it's not a disappointment for Liverpool supporters at all. And I don't know where people who maybe don't support Liverpool get this impression that all of a sudden Liverpool supporters are disappointed. Liverpool supporters aren't disappointed at all.
David, thank you very much for your call. Interesting view there. Look, a difference of opinion, Darren, I'm sure, but you get the point, right? Things are going so well at Liverpool. Did you not expect more?
No. Listen, things are going so well that I expected at some point the law of averages determines that they were going to at least drop points or lose a game at some point. And I think as far as Liverpool are concerned, yes, last night was a big disappointment, particularly given the way that they dominated the game. But they didn't prioritise the FA Cup at the start of the season. You've seen the record that Jurgen Klopp's got in that competition. He never prioritises the FA Cup. The focus this season has been winning a first title in 30 years. I think the big problem is, and we have this problem in general with sport in this country, we get bored with brilliance. When I remember when Steve Davis used to win the snooker, and people, Steve Interesting Davis, and people got bored with it. When top sportsmen plunder trophies year after year, week in, week out, we get complacent. We start to underestimate the scale of the achievement. And I think that's what we're doing with Liverpool, because during the first 6 months of this season, they were unstoppable. And the kind of thing I was hearing on this very station, eulogising about Liverpool, ranking them up with the top teams we've ever seen in the Premier League, suddenly go out of the Champions League. Are they all that? Come on.
Darren, you'll be pleased to know Manchester United scored a couple of goals in the last 2 minutes. It finished LASK 0, Manchester United 5, Mason Greenwood and Andreas Pereira with the last couple of goals in the last couple of minutes. Gabby, what do you make of what Darren had to say there? We become bored of the brilliance of Liverpool?
No, I think Liverpool haven't won the league for how long? So for them this season, it was about winning the league. For me, that's a fantastic season. Even though they're out of the Champions League, if they lose the FA Cup, they're out of the League Cup, they lost the League Cup. So for me, they just wanted to win the league, didn't they? So if you said to Jurgen Klopp before the season started, you're going to win the league and you're going to win nothing else, every Liverpool fan would bite your hand off. And that's what they've done. They're going to do. So for me, it's a fantastic season for Liverpool.
Absolutely. Listen, you look at last season.
But it's a masterclass from Simeone.
Liverpool fans are queuing up to speak to us. Alan will be next in a few moments' time. But Liverpool fans, let us know what you think. 08717 223344.
How do you make the most understated run?
Hopefully, I'm going to do the co-commentary for the Brighton Gooners game on Saturday. Because of the coronavirus, we're all had to fill in forms now. You haven't been to certain countries, you haven't been in contact with anybody who's got coronavirus. You haven't had a cough. If you have to report. Quite rightly, you have to report it. So, I must admit, I think I'm one of these ones. I don't get sort of over sensationalised too easy. I don't get caught away with the hysteria. But I think this week it actually has ramped up a notch, and I think it's bringing it home to everybody, not just football fans, but the general public, that it is probably a lot more serious than what people thought it was going to be a couple of weeks ago.
It was a very sobering press conference that we saw the Boris Johnson give earlier, wasn't it? And we're all wondering, as there's so many different facets to this, and of course as sports fans, I thought personally it was inevitable, and I think it still is inevitable, that there will be a stadium or certainly bans for crowds over a certain amount. I think it's just a matter of time when it comes in. They decided to go against it. We are one of all the top 5 leagues in the world. We are the only league still playing football. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on, because I think it's only fair and right that we talk about the games that have just taken place. And listen, if you've got something to say on the coronavirus, you're more than welcome to get involved. We're going to start talking about the British clubs in Europe. Man United kicked off the evening with a 5-0 thumping of Lask. 3 goals coming very, very late on, and for a convincing win. Olympiacos went down to 10 men. They took the lead at home against Wolves in front of an empty stadium, but that turned out not to be the worst result in Wolves. Had they taken an away goal, hadn't taken an away goal back home, that would have been very, very different for them. But I think they're quite nicely poised there. Rangers, however, suffered a defeat at home to Bayer Leverkusen, a really, really good side. Perry, you and I watched that. They're a very, very good side, and Rangers are up against it. If you saw any of those games, or you're leaving Ibrox, 08717 223344. Just to let you know what is coming up throughout the rest of the show. We've got a little bit of Statman just after 11 o'clock. There's also a bit of audio. I went down to Chelsea's training ground this week and done a piece with Cesar Azpilicueta, or Dave, as he's known to the Chelsea fans. They're going to play a little bit of that interview I done with him. Rafa is back pages. Simon Johnson joins us just after 11:30. No doubt Corona will be dominating that. Kevin Atchard, European Football Expert, discussing the potential of the Champions League and Europa League to be suspended. Plus, looking ahead to those Euros. This is an incredibly fast-moving story, almost on an hour-by-hour basis. It seems to change. Midnight Train to Madness, just after midnight, of course. Emmett Kennedy, horse racing expert, looking back at day 3 and looking ahead to tomorrow's racing. Inspector Gadget and the Nigel Abbey. Well done, Joshua.
Timings.
Josh, I mean, you're never that sharp with Goldstein. What is it? It's in the opener, did he? Okay, yeah. Okay, there's another one there. Nigel Ladley, TalkSport football commentator, looks ahead to all the championship games. But we're opening the lines to you, the caller. We can't do the show without you. 08717 223344. Talking Europa League, and we're talking coronavirus. Where do you want to start? You saw the Man United game. I was travelling in. I was listening to it on TalkSport 2. It did look like Man United were on easy street from what I was hearing, Perry. They had a chance, I think, at 2-0. Lask, they shot one over the bar, but after that, it just looked like Man United were just in cruise control.
You hit the nail on the head. It was a training game. Yeah. But you're playing in front of, not in front, in an empty stadium. It's the Linzer Stadion. Normally it's got 21,000 capacity. For Lask to have any chance against Manchester United, they needed a full house. They needed it rocking, because you've played in pre-season games, Jay, and you played in testimonial games. You've played in the end of season games, right? And you don't get the same nerves when there's nobody there. And I defy any, apart from Tyson Fury, he's probably one of the only sportsmen I've never seen get nervous, to be fair, because he actually enjoys the occasion. But you always get, when you're playing,
don't you?
On a match day, you get the buzz when you get into the stadium. You get the feel of it as you go in there. You see the fans coming up to the stadium. You come out for warm up. It's different. There'll be few people dotted around. The announcers. You see all the action on the screen when you're playing, and then when you run out, that noise hits you when you run out of tunnel, and then that's when you're a little nervous.
So basically, Lask, who are, let's be honest, no one expects Lask to go through, and even before this, but had they got a full crowd there, had they had that 20-odd thousand fans behind them, making an atmosphere, creating a bit of noise, giving Man United something to, maybe they got the first goal in the game, totally different.
But the thing is, what happens is, especially the first, when you're going away in Europe, everybody says, when Liverpool were brilliant in Europe, what was the first thing that Shankly said, what Paisley said, what Franklin, you go away and you quieten the crowd down. For the first 20, 25 minutes, Liverpool used to keep the ball in and give it back to Grobler or who was in goal, Ray Clement, just completely nullified like the euphoria of the crowd. You don't have to do that now. So all these games all suited the away teams when there was obviously no support. And Manchester United were professional. They were professional. Their attitude was really good. Lask didn't have the belief that they could get in and around Manchester United. They didn't never put them under any pressure whatsoever. But the one thing that stood out to me, apart from the brilliant Igalo goal, by the way, which was a great little ball
magnificent strike
from Fernandes, and obviously he's juggled it right foot, left foot, and as it's set up, and he's just a nice clean strike on his left foot. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I think he made 5G. He went back to a 4-2-3-1. There's one player that he didn't rest was Fernandes. He will not rest him for the whole season now because he knows that he makes Manchester United tick. He gives them that bit of creativity. And I think he allows the other players to express themselves as well. It gives them a bit more confidence. And let's be honest, at 2-0, the tie was done and dusted anyway. But then all of a sudden, you see the belief completely be drained out of Lask, and then Man United end up scoring like 3 sort of late goals. And that didn't flatter Manchester United, by the way, because the golfing class was huge, where Lask needed that home crowd to try and narrow that golfing class because they could have got a... Man United was... Let's be honest, they were strolling, really. Yeah. It was a training game.
A very different game, though, for Wolves. They went down 10 men in Olympiacos, and you thought that Wolves from there on in would perhaps go on and really dominate the game. Not the case. You know, Olympiacos, fair play to them with 10 men. They nearly got away with it. Wolves come back with an away goal. They're in pole position now, Wolves. So
they are, but you said before, I don't think that's a great result for Wolves. If in normal
against 10 men,
but 10 men and a partisan crowd, 1-1 draw, you'd snap your hands off. But in these circumstances, I think Wolves played like a team. Not that they didn't try, but they didn't have the athleticism and the urgency and intensity they normally have, especially when obviously Semedo gets sent off, which was a sending off on Jota without a shadow of a doubt. He's tackled with his wrong foot, his left foot's gone across him. Yeah. Then if that was in a normal game, you'd be thinking, you'll be sniffing blood there. You'd be thinking, right, here we go. We got a chance here. I just think they played to me like they just wanted to get home. Do you know what I mean? Because Nuno Espirito Santo said that the game shouldn't be played, didn't he? He said they didn't want to be there.
That's right.
You could say they were professional. They got 1-1 and they got themselves back in the game with a Neto deflected sort of free kick, which is fine. But they did. That wasn't Wolves. Where you say Manchester United were very professional, and focused. I don't think Wolves were 100% focused on that game. So getting them back to 1-1 is all right. But I think if they were the proper Wolves that played with the intensity that they can, perhaps they could have gone on won that game with no problem. But I think sometimes you admire managers' honesty, but sometimes I think they have to keep the feelings to themselves because that has to transmit itself to your players and the staff when you're travelling. That if the manager doesn't really want to be there and he's saying, you don't think it's playing, that's going to have an effect. So I think he should keep that to himself and say, no, this is what the authority said we've got to do. We're professional. We're going to go and do their job. We give everything we've got. Have a more of a positive outlook to his players. I think that might have rubbed off them, but they've got themselves back from 1-0 down. But
okay, so just the other game that's taking place there. We're going to go. We've got a Rangers fan we're going to speak to in a second. Rangers 1, Bayer Leverkusen 3. Bayer Leverkusen were by far the better side. That's a tough ask for them now. I mean, they're as good as out now. Having said that, I do remember them turning around. It might have been the last game actually. I think they turned around a 2-goal deficit to go through. But that was a full house at Rangers. And we were flicking between the two, Perry, between the Olympiacos Wolves and Rangers Bayer Leverkusen game. And the difference in atmosphere, even just watching it, it was just... Of course it's different. But the potential now of what we could be looking ahead to, and Scottish football is bracing itself because after Monday, the Scottish Parliament has said that there's going to be no gatherings of crowds, I think over 500 people or more. So they're going to be banned. They're going to be playing behind closed doors. The Premier League this weekend have already said that Premier League games are going to take place. This is quite possibly the last weekend There's 4 games or 5 games next weekend, then 4 FA Cup games next weekend.
4 Premier League games next weekend after the Merseyside derby on Monday.
On Monday, right.
I think that's when the Premier League will say we're not playing.
What is the solution here? And I'd love your thoughts on this as well. 08717 2233 44. It does seem to me like there are basically just 2 options. 1, behind closed doors. 2, you're banned in the Premier League for a period with 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks.
But it's 3 options, or you ban it completely, don't you?
Is that an option?
No, I think that's been talked about.
You say
just finish the league.
I'm not sure that's an option.
Well, it is.
I don't think that is an option right now. I don't think it is. It may well become one, but right now I'm not so sure that is the option.
No, but that is further down the line.
Yes, that may present itself.
It could be an option, but let's be honest. Right, a lot of people think that Premier League the football only started in 1992, right?
You and I played before.
Before that, exactly. Yeah. But by the way, me and you had a little tear up for the Rangers pitch. It's the first time you've seen the pitch with not, little bare patches of grass.
It reminded us a little bit.
That was a bit of the 80s, wasn't it? That was
old highbrow Stamford Bridge.
You're not wrong. In the centre circle.
Yeah.
But I used to I had this romanticised idea that fans were the most important thing in football. Without fans, football was anything. This last sort of 4 or 5 days has actually enhanced my belief that football is nothing without fans. It is absolutely nothing at all.
It's ugly. It's ugly when you see empty pockets of seats, but to have nothing there and no noise.
But there's no feeling.
But we knew that, didn't we?
There's no soul. There's no feeling.
We knew that, didn't we? We know that?
No, because I think there's some people who think that the most important people in football at the moment are the broadcasters and the money that's coming from Sky.
Well, they are
BT
vital.
Sport.
They are vital. But the match-going fans you're talking about.
But also the reason that the broadcasters put a lot of money in to Premier League. Football's obviously exciting, it's end to end, whereas in
but they don't want to see empty stadiums. The broadcasters don't want to see that.
Well, that's my point, because it is the spectacle.
Yeah.
I think it's 96% capacity of Premier League stadium. So when that is broadcast around the world, the football and the atmosphere in the stadium mirror each other. Do you know what I mean? So you're looking at full stadium, you're looking at atmosphere, you're looking at vibrant, exciting football, and the atmosphere in the grounds. That's why they paid their money. I'd be I fought a little bit behind closed doors because obviously we're employed and we're self-employed, so it means we work, right? But now I'm looking at it thinking, football has no interest. I mean, people say, "Oh, they go and watch it down the pub." If it was shown, I don't think fans would be watching it at the pub.
So what are the options? What are your thoughts on this as the fan? 08717 223344, and this goes right across north of the border as well, because you guys are bracing yourself for the weekend after this that's going to be having no fans, played behind closed doors as is. What are the options? Perry seems to think it's an option to actually cancel the league.
No. I think it will be an option. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Right. What my preferred option is that I think after the Merseyside derby on Monday, I think the Premier League will suspend games for 2 weeks, because you've only got 4 Premier League games the following weekend, and then you've got international break. Then I think
there's a natural break in
of
that.
I think it's about 16 days, something like that, right? Then I think they'll say they'll make a decision.
They say international break. I'm not sure. Well,
no, there hasn't been no internationals.
But there is a place in there, a natural break.
And then I'd rather that the season was then prolonged if you go into June. And let's be honest, there's no way in the world that the Euros can go on, because of how many countries.
There's another complete question as well. 08717 2233